Hi and welcome to Distilled 405. My name is Dan, and today we're going to be looking at the Glenfarclas 21-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. We're going to taste it, review it, give it a rating of if I think you should purchase it or not, if I think it's a good whiskey. I have to preface this review by just saying that Glenfarclas is probably one of my favorite distilleries in all of Scotland. For me, they're very complex, and they have a lot of, I guess, bang for your buck as far as the expense of their whiskeys compared to the quality and the value that you're getting. Even at a very young age statement, their whiskeys seem to perform very well and pick up a lot of cask influence and a lot of oakiness at a very young age. So I've always been a really big fan of Glenfarclas. There are also whiskeys that do very good for themselves at a very young age. So some whiskeys at 10, 12 years old can be kind of harsh and difficult, whereas Glenfarclas at 10 and 12 years old, as I said, they're still very complex and have a lot of depth of flavor for such a young age statement. Obviously this 21-year-old is a little bit older, and you can definitely tell it on the nose. There's a lot of oak influence here. Even for a 21-year-old, there's an amazing amount of oak influence. I like to spend time with my whiskeys. I typically don't just want to review something that I haven't really had some time with and had some time to understand. I think every time you taste a whiskey, depending on what you've eaten or even what kind of a mood you're in, or there's a multitude of different things, the setting that you're in or who you're drinking with, the whiskey can taste very differently. So I think that at least tasting a whiskey a few times before you kind of give your opinion on it is a really important thing to do. So I've spent some time with this whiskey. I'm taking some notes. The color is really beautiful. I'm slightly colorblind, but it's kind of a very straw amber gold. I mean, you get a little bit of red from that sherry cask. This is ex-sherry and ex-bourbon cask, but a very beautiful whiskey. On the nose, I've got a lot of old oak, kind of a damp old wood aroma in a good way. You get some of that faint sherry sweetness, but it's a very aged and well-rounded sherry. It's not right in your face, but it's kind of in the background. And then one thing that I always get on Glenfarclas is kind of a I don't know if when you were a kid that you got some, your mom gave you some red cough syrup, like mine did. A lot of the Glenfarclases show a red cough syrup sweetness on the nose and on the palate and the finish all throughout, at least for me. So I get some of that. I also get some molasses and some fresh red fruits. On the palate, again, that old rich oakiness. For an older whiskey and bottle at 43%, it's very, very vibrant and full and rich and alive. A lot of older whiskeys, a lot of people think they get super smooth and super mellowed out, and they do, but some of them can also be very full flavored, very rich, and the viscosity that they get at an older age really helps with that. So I get a lot of red fruits again. More taste. A lot of red fruits, and again, there's that cough syrup sweetness that runs throughout it. It tastes very complex. There's a lot going on, a lot of flavors, but the dominant ones are really the oakiness and then that interlaced sherry sweetness that's kind of in the background. And then you also get some rich maltiness as well. In the finish, let's try the finish. The finish is thick and very viscous. When I've experienced, it lasts and lingers for a very, very long time. This isn't just a really fast, it doesn't fall off, it lasts and lasts and lasts. One of the longest finishes I've experienced, and definitely when you get into those older age statement whiskeys, that's one of those expectations you have that the finish is going to last longer. It's very mouth coating, and then you've got that there's a little bit of wood bitterness that comes up too from that oak, from being that oak for so long. So it's kind of tanniny and just a slight tinge of bitterness, but it's not bad. Some people can be kind of off-put by wood bitterness, but I think the expectation for this one is that it's going to have that, being an older whiskey. So it's phenomenal. I would rate it overall, I think, a 90 out of 100. This bottle in my area costs about $125 US, and so I think you're getting a lot of value for that. You know, again, with the sherry components, and then the 21-year-old age statement, and then the 43% alcohol. So I think it's a good value. So I'd rate it 90 out of 100 overall. So it's a good whiskey, Glenfarclas. If you can find any in your area, I haven't really had a bad one yet. I've got more reviews to come of the 17-year-old and the 12 and the 10 and probably the 25 too, which is one of my very favorites. But so this video is also meant to be just kind of an introduction to my channel as well. I'm very passionate about whiskey, whether it be Scotch or bourbons or world whiskeys. India's making some great whiskeys, and so is Taiwan. So this channel is not really about going into the history of these distilleries or so much of the data backing the whiskey. It's more of just a tasting and giving you my thoughts and opinions, and hoping to get to know people out in the whiskey industry and the whiskey business. I think that whiskey is a very, very fun hobby. It can be very fun, especially if it's taken into the right context, and it's obviously not abused. And so I'm hoping to do more reviews and get to know people. I'll try to reply to as many comments as I can. And yeah, I'm not going to give a lot of information really on the distilleries or anything. That's, we've got Google nowadays, so it's not really something I see is necessary. But just really my thoughts and opinions, and there's a lot of whiskey out there, so it's good to know if someone has an opinion on it that you can kind of go by, if whether you should spend your hard-earned dollars on it or not. So thank you for watching Distilled 405, and I'll see you on the next review. Thank you.